Hello, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm going to be scrapbooking another page using the Fernwood, collection from Vicky Booten. And I'm going to be scrapbooking this photo of Scott and I. This is a day that we went apple picking back in October, and I just wanted to get this picture in our album. I have lots of pictures of us apple picking over the years because it's an event that we do almost every year. So I wanted to get this one into my album. I think it'll be nice someday to look back on all of the pages and see how we've all changed over the years. I'm going to start by trimming this down. It's a vertical photo that I took with my phone and it has a different aspect ratio. So when I printed it to fit on the paper instead of to fill the paper. So it's not quite 4x6. It's probably like 3 3/4 by 6 or something like that. So it's a little bit taller than most photos that I use. So before I get started, I don't really have a good sense of what I want to do, but I know I want to use some of my favorite pattern papers from this collection. So I'm just putting aside, I really love that black and white daisy paper, and I really love that green floral print as well with the black kind of really dark background. And I'm kind of feeling like, because I'm pulling all of my favorite things out, I know I did that on my last page. Here it is right here. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing the same thing. I had a feeling when I saw that graph paper there, that ledger paper, I thought I had used that last time, but I didn't. So that's what I was doing there. I'm thinking about using the ledger paper as my background, and then that black and white floral as my kind of outline around the outside edge as a mat around the photo, or around the page. I love this paper as well. So basically these are all my favorite papers from the whole collection. So let's see if we can put these all together. It's not going to go as planned, I'll tell you that much. So I started by coming over to my cardstock selection over here in my room, and I'm looking for some cardstock that will pick up on some of the colors that I have here. So I went with this Basil Basics. It is called Turquoise Mist. And this is some paper that came in an old Hip Kit Club. And I really, really love the cardstock that used to come in those kits, even though I rarely ever used it. It's very nice to have a good assortment of cardstock on hand now. I'm going to start by matting this photo. I think that will give me some good structure. Basically, I'm going to use that Turquoise Mist cardstock as my background with the outline around it of the, not the outline, but the matting around it of that black and white daisy paper from the Fernwood collection. And I'm thinking I might want to put all of these papers together, like layer them all together or something. Now I want to use a bigger border than I usually use. Usually when I'm matting a whole page, I will cut down my background paper to 11.5 by 11.5, and then I'll have a 1/4 inch border around the whole thing. This time I cut my paper, that turquoise paper, down to 11 by 11. Now I'm going to take the guts out of the middle of this paper because I love this paper so much, and there are 2 of it in the collection pack. Like I have the paper pad, and in the paper pad you have 2 of every paper, but I love this so much that I think I'm going to want even more of it. So I just rescued the center part of it by cutting it out with my trimmer before I go ahead. There's no point in wasting that paper just covered up by the cardstock. So I also went to my stash and got a piece of black cardstock. This is very inexpensive cardstock. I actually don't care for it very much. It's good for things around my scrap room, like organizational projects and stuff, but I don't love scrapbooking with it. It's a little bit too shiny, and it's white core as well, which I don't really care for. But anyhow, I think I'm going to do some mixed media on this Turquoise Mist cardstock. And it really looks like mint green. I feel weird calling it turquoise mist, but that's what the Basil people called it, so that's what we'll call it. So I'm going to double matte this photo. Double matting, especially when you use black and white as your 2 mats, it gives a photo a lot of structure. You see all those nice, perfect corners and edges. That gives this photo quite a bit of structure and definition on this page. And it really contrasts with the botanical print in the background there, like that my matting is, it really contrasts with that. And that's what I was looking for. I'm going to be contrasting things all over the place on this page. So I found this color scheme. I was just playing around with some inks and doing some blending just off camera the other day, just playing around for fun. And I discovered this color scheme that I really liked. I just couldn't remember which colors it was. So I had to look it up on my little swatches. I keep swatches for all of my inks on little rings, and I keep it right beside the inks. So these colors are Broken China and Wilted Violets. So I also brought my mists over to my desk so that I could try to find at least one or preferably a couple of coordinating colors that I could do some sprinkles with. And I'm just basing it on, because I don't have swatches for my mists right now, I'm just basing it on the color of the mist in like around the nozzle, like where you see the actual mist, not the label, because the labels aren't always a good representation of the color. The one that I picked out here is called Heirloom Blue. It's a Mr. Huey's mist, and it's very, very old. It is the first mist that I ever bought. I bought a 3-pack that include Heirloom Blue, Overdue, which was an orangey red, and something else I can't remember. But leave me a comment if you remember that little 3-pack that you used to be able to get from Studio Calico. Now I am going to be doing some ink blending here with this stencil, and this is an iStencil stencil. So it's at iStencil.com. You can find a whole bunch. The iStencil people sent me a ton of stencils a very long time ago. They were incredibly generous and did not require me to make a video or anything. They just said, here, play with these and mention them when you use them. So anyhow, these are great stencils. I really, really enjoy working with them. And so here I am pulling out this one. And it doesn't have a name, it's just iStencil. It has a number if you want it. It is, it's 2700050. And so I'm just mixing those two ink colors together and just kind of trying to keep it interesting and not be too heavy-handed. And I keep pulling the photo back just so that I can be mindful of putting some of this background so that it spills out from underneath of my photo. I went a little bit too heavy there, but really you can't even notice. It looks fine. And I really love this color combination. It's a lot of fun. What I really love about it is the places. I didn't overlap it a whole lot, but in the places where it does overlap, it forms this absolutely beautiful blue. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous blue. It's very similar to Island Indigo from Stampin' Up, which is a color they don't make anymore that I miss dearly. It was my very favorite color, and I accidentally, when I sold all my Stampin' Up inks, I accidentally sold my Island Indigo, which I meant to hang on to. So anyhow, this Heirloom Blue is really beautiful here, and I didn't realize how dark it would splatter because I actually haven't used very much of this ink or this mist. So I'm just taking a paper towel and I'm kind of putting it into a little, like I'm twisting it into a little point, and then I'm soaking up the liquid so that it's a little bit less dark. And now I'm going to use my Stampin' Up heat tool, and I'm just going to dry up those little splots so that they don't make too much of a mess around my page. I was surprised by how dark those are, but I actually really like them. They do have they look quite black in the video footage, but when you look at it up close, they do have a blue tint to them, like a turquoisey, dark bluey tint. Quite nice. Now, I just went to my mark making drawer, which is where I keep a lot of things that I use for repetitive mark making. And I have a couple of stamps here. This is a stamp that is meant to be something else. It's meant to be like a little calendar or something, or a to-do list. And I just use it. I see I'm not putting it on a block, and I'm just holding it in a curved way. And I'm just stamping it onto my page, just for making marks. And I'm doing the same thing. I have this other one that's like a screen, and this one, I suspect this one might have come in the mixed media kit that I collaborated with Freckled Fawn for. I'm pretty sure that that's the stamp that came in that kit. Because I've always wanted a screen stamp, so I would have picked that for sure. If memory serves me correctly. My memory is not very great for those sorts of details. But so see, I have these 3 little spots now where I have the mark making stamps that stick out from under my photo, and then another one up in the corner. And now I just felt like something, I needed to soften up this photo. It looked very, very harsh and very structured with, as I said, that double matting with the black and the white makes for very harsh. Now, I kind of forgot for a second there that I'm using a blade trimmer here, which is the kind of trimmer that drags a blade across your paper. You can't cut tissue paper with that. So it ripped it, but actually I kind of like the look of it. But if you want to cut tissue paper, the way to do it is to use a rotary blade like this. So I cleaned up 3 of the 4 edges and then left the torn one. I kind of liked the way that it tore, so I left it. And now that just softens up the photo a little bit and gives a little bit of texture and interest between the background and the foreground of this photo. Now, it occurred to me that I really need to get some color up here, and I thought I was being too heavy-handed, but once I take off the stencil, it's fine. That's the nice thing about stencils, is that they really, they're very forgiving. Like you can go heavier than you think with them. Now I want to overlap these. This is a random stencil with a random pattern of dots is what I'm trying to say. And I wanted another shade, so I went with this shade. I didn't have the proper shade of Distress Oxides, which is what I had been using for the other colors. So I went with Distress Ink in Faded Jeans. I have way more colors in the Distress Inks because I've been collecting them for longer. So I have a whole bunch. So I'm just putting this stencil, just putting random polka dots every here and there where I think it's going to show. And then I just wanted to extend some of those mark making stamps, like those screen looking stamps, to a few more places so that they would show a little bit better. I wanted them extending out from the stenciled backgrounds. I need just a little bit more blue right here. There you go. Oh, a little bit more. And I'm trying to be a little bit lighter handed over there. So I'm just kind of cleaning off my brushes a little bit. I don't clean them. I just kind of rub them until they don't make much of a mark anymore, because I do have dedicated brushes for each color of the rainbow. Now I have this stamp set in my stash. It must have come from a Studio Calico kit that either I got or my friend Stephanie got, because we share our stamps back and forth sometimes. And it's from One Little Bird and Studio Calico. And I really like the loopy handwriting on this. And I thought that it provided some more balance. Again, where kind of like the lines of that background stencil that creates those little rectangles, and all of the lines that are in the screen stamps, and then we've got to have something kind of loopy and more botanical or curvy. Curvy is the word I'm looking for. And of course, the background paper on the very background that the matting will be done in is also a botanical as well, with lots of nice soft curvy lines. So I just randomly stamped those handwriting stamps around the photo on the diagonal like that, so that they show up in my 3 places that I'm having my embellishment clusters start to form. I'm basically forming an anchoring background that my embellishments will go upon. And I'm doing a roller date stamp to put the date, which is October 10th of 2021. And then I also noticed that I really liked the stars that are on, like beside the date on that roller date stamp. So again, with the faded denim or faded jeans, I am stamping those stars every here and there as well. So that's my background. And I'm pretty pleased with it. It looks pretty nice. I'm happy with it. But then I decided I think it needs a little something else. It was feeling like it's a little bit too dark for like everything on it. All of the mixed media was looking a little dark compared to the lightness of the paper. So I want to bring some lightness into this background. And so I grabbed some gouache and added a little bit of water, and I'm using my fan brush to just tap, lightly tap, and that gives me a very, very, very fine white sprinkling. It was so fine that I just wanted to use a round brush here to just dab some other circles. They're not perfect circles, but they just look like splats, like a little bit larger splats. I got gouache everywhere. I do have a splatter screen. I'm here, I'm cleaning my computer, I'm cleaning my screen, I'm cleaning my brushes. It's everywhere. I am not sure why I did not use my splatter screen, but I did not. Look, it's even on my photo, and my photo was way across my desk on the other side. So bear with me while I just reprint that photo. It'll only take a second. I'm reprinting it to my PictureMate PM400. I've upgraded from the PictureMate charm that I've had for about 10 years or so, and upgraded to the PM400. So that white craft mat that I was working on is, I believe it's a Heidi Swap craft mat from many, many years ago. And I reprinted that, but I forgot to print it in on the black and white setting. And on the video, it actually looks, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it looks quite a bit different in real life, but on the video they look almost the same. So I just decided to reprint it. While I reprint it, I am going to do my sewing. So, oops, I forgot to glue this down. So I'm just going to glue this down with my tape runner, and I ran my tape runner around the inside of the background paper so that I'm not sewing over it. I do sew over glue with this sewing machine. It's dedicated to paper crafting, so I just kind of sew where I need to sew. But if I can avoid sewing on glue, I will, because it does eventually gum up the insides of your machine, and you do have to have your machine serviced every once in a while to get all of that gunk outside of the inner workings of your sewing machine. So I'm using black thread here, and I'm just going all the way around the outside of my layout. When I come to a corner, I leave the needle in the paper, lift up the foot, turn the paper, put the foot back down again, and then keep on sewing. That's the way that you get nice crisp corners that are like an angled corner instead of a curved corner. So I did go around double, I like that look. It gives it a bit of a messier look, and I quite like it. So that's what I did. I'm just going to trim off the little stray legs of those threads, and there's my background. And I'm kind of like, am I going to put more? Yes, I'm going to put more. More heirloom blue sprinkles, and yeah, we'll let that dry. And while I let that dry, I'm just going to go and grab the other photo. So you can see how it's darker, the one that was printed on the black and white setting. So the second photo that I printed up was printed on the color printing, even though the photo itself is a black and white. And I find that when you print a black and white photo on the black and white setting on your printer, it just prints a little bit more vividly. There's more contrast, and it just pops a little bit better. And so that's why I went and reprinted it for a third time. I did a little last second, let's just angle this photo a tiny little bit. I didn't want it too lined up because this page has more of a messy, casual look to it, so I didn't want that photo to be too lined up with the background. Now, I want to use a title from this set of stickers. This is part of the Fernwood collection from Vicki Boutin, and I'm just trying to decide which title I'm going to use. And I'm going to go with this title that says right here. And this title is going to give me another opportunity to contrast curvy lines and straight lines, because the word here is in these nice straight block letters. And I made the word right be on an angle on the page, but here is going to be as straight as it can be. As straight as I can make it, which is not perfect, but it's pretty darn straight. So there we go. So we've got a nice little kind of juxtaposition of harsh angles and soft, whimsical, curvy lines as well. And I'm going to grab another curvy line here by adding a arrow. It seems like the word right here is just begging me to put an arrow on it, and there are a lot of arrows on this title sticker sheet. So I think I'll put it right here, and it'll be pointing to the journaling. So I'm going to do some journaling here, and I'm not going to like it. So we're going to do it twice. So I just used my ruler and a marker, and I'm just trying to find which thickness of my Tombow mono twin pen I'm going to use, and I decided to use the thinner one. My journaling says annual apple picking in the valley. I don't really have much more to say about it than that. And you know what I don't like about it? It's too dark. It's too competing with the other marks that are already on the page. It doesn't stand out as an element in and of itself. There are a number of things I don't like about it. So I'm just going to sit on it and think about it while I do some embellishing. I know where I'm going to put my embellishments. I just don't know what they will be. So I know that they're going to go in these 3 places that I've already kind of arranged with the background stamping. I like that sticker, but I don't really want to have embellishments coming out from the edges of this, other than that cute little moth coming out. So I've got these 3 places where the butterflies will be. And this is gonna move. I don't like it there. See, it's throwing off the balance. It needs to come down by the moth, but that won't. I don't even know if I do that on camera. I might do that afterwards. But it's off balance there. So I will catch that when I go to do the photos. Maybe you might see it in the photos moved. So now I have all these phrases, and they say things like here and there, this is our happy place, in my element, such a great day, loving every minute, and hashtag been there. And hashtag been there is actually covering up a line that I put for journaling that I didn't end up using. And now these little confetti stickers that are all around these titles are really great, and I really want to use them, so I'm putting them in the 3 different places. I'm going to go back and change them, but for now they're going to stay there. And now I'm just going to glue these butterflies down. So I put some regular tape runner on the bodies of the butterflies, and then I'm using dimensional adhesive under the wings, and I'm actually doubling up the dimensional adhesive on the left wing of that butterfly, but just single dimensional adhesive on the right wing. The moth is flat, although I did go back and add a little dimensional adhesive under one of the moth's wings. And then on this one, I'm doing the same thing, which is a single dimensional adhesive under one wing and double under the other. So here we go. I think I'm done, but I am not done. You know what I'm thinking about this page is there's not much purple on it other than in the background. So I feel like that purple in the background is kind of, first of all, it looks a little random and out of place, and also it's kind of getting lost. So I've decided to go into my stash. I do not have many purple enamel dots, but I do have a few. So I picked the one that was the closest color to that wilted violet, as close as I could get. And I really like that touch. It really does bring it, it pulls the purple forward in the page and helps it to stand out a little bit. Now here's what I'm going to do about this. Remember how I said that this journaling, it just looked too black and cluttered and like not standing out enough. So I'm going to run these 3 pieces of very skinny green washi tape. There's green elsewhere in the layout. There's green on the butterfly wings and on the moth wings. And so I just covered up that journaling, and now I'm going to go in with my mono twin marker, and I'm just going to go right over top of the journaling that was already there. And I'm even going to go over the line and see how that journaling, it just stands out a little bit, actually a lot more. It looks a lot better. It's not competing so much with the pattern underneath. Yeah, that looks better. So just for your memory, here's how it looked before. Just a little bit too cluttered and competing with the other lines. And here's how it looks now. I like that better. So I will show you this close up so you can get a look at some of the details with all of the mixed media in the background. This is an unusual page for me. I don't usually do a whole lot of stamping on my background and stenciling on my background paper. Usually if I'm going to do mixed media, I usually use the smooshing technique or something like that, but this was really fun. It's nice to try something a little bit different and a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So I will encourage you to go ahead and try something that's a little bit different for you and see where it takes you. Here are the close-up photos and just like the still shots of this one. I really love what that background paper that's matted around the outside edges of this paper, of this layout. I really love what that does for it. It really kind of like pulls it together, and it picks up on some of the lines that are in the butterflies and makes the butterflies feel a lot more like they belong. Just a quick shout out here to my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for helping me do what I do. And if you would like to see more of what I do, just check any of these videos that are listed here on your screen. Make sure that you subscribe if you don't want to miss anything that I put up on YouTube. In the meantime, take care and have a really great scrappy week.